Calvin Castine. I think we're still in Champlain, New York. In fact, I am awfully sure we're still in Champlain, New York. But if this site here looks familiar to you, it's the border crossing at the Champlain border. And we are here for a groundbreaking, although the ground is well broke all around us. This is a groundbreaking ceremony. And it's all about the new border crossing that is being constructed even as we speak. And Jack LeDuc arriving in back of us, wondering where everything is going to be happening. There's a barn that's right on the edge, and it looks like it's on the edge of destruction up here at the little farmhouse. I think I know the family name of that farm involved, but if I guess wrong, I would look more foolish than I normally do, so I'm not going to even guess at the name of that farm. Folks are arriving, and the event is scheduled to start in about 15 minutes, and all this will be changed very shortly to handle the new concerns at the border. But this was going on long before September 11th, 2001. There'll be a lot of changes here, and this is just one of the first steps, and many to come. It is now 11 a.m. The program is scheduled to start at 11. We have checked, and everyone here, except John Ryan, who's in our picture, everyone else, so here is a dignitary.
My name is Christopher Perry. I'm the Area Port Director for U.S. Customs and Border Protection here in Champlain, New York. And I'd like to welcome you to the groundbreaking ceremony this morning for the construction of the new Port of Entry at Champlain. At this time, I would like to call in the colors, please. If you would all rise. At this time, I'd like us all to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all.
Order.
Please be seated. On behalf of the Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and the General Services Administration, I would like to welcome you to the groundbreaking ceremony that commemorates the start of construction for the new Port of Entry here at Champlain, New York. As a frontline border agency, the priority mission of Customs and Border Protection is Homeland Security, preventing terrorists and terrorist weapons, including weapons of mass destruction, from entering the United States. We must also perform this priority mission while performing our traditional missions very well. These traditional missions include apprehending individuals attempting to enter the United States illegally, stemming the flow of illegal narcotics and other contraband, and protecting agriculture and economic interests from harmful pests and diseases. Today's ceremony is the culmination of years of work by Customs and Border Protection, the General Service Administration, and a wide variety of partners in both the public and private sectors from both sides of the border. Our objective has been to build a world-class border station which balances the security needs of the United States with the movement of legitimate cargo and people into and out of the United States. The work site to your left will house the port's new commercial vehicle processing operations and trade operations. We expect construction to be completed in late 2006. Following construction of the new commercial vehicle and processing facility, we will begin construction of our new passenger operations and export control facilities, which will be to your right. At this time, I would like to acknowledge and welcome our distinguished guests. First, I would like to welcome the Deputy Assistant Commissioner for the Office of Field Operations for Customs and Border Protection, Mr. William Heffelfinger. Next, I would like to welcome Ms. Eileen Long-Shalelis, Regional Administrator for the U.S. General Service Administration. The Honorable John McHugh, Congressman for the 23rd District of New York. The Honorable John Sweeney, Congressman from the 20th District of New York. Mr. Thomas Madison, Commissioner for the New York State Department of Transportation. I would also like to welcome from CBP headquarters in Washington, Mr. Thad Bingle, who is the Assistant Commissioner for Congressional Affairs. Mr. Bingle. Thank you all today for attending, and we look forward to hearing your remarks. I would like to at this time introduce Ms. Eileen Long-Shalelis, the Regional Administrator for the General Services Administration.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming out this morning. I will be brief because we want to hear from those who have actually made this happen. I've been with GSA for a year. While I can take some credit, the men behind me can take most of the credit for getting the funding necessary to make this happen over here on the right. The Champlain Port of Entry, the fourth busiest port on the northern border, is critical to the continued effectiveness of one of New York State's commercial corridors. Today's groundbreaking is a great example of federal, state, and local communities working together along with our Canadian neighbors across the border to increase trade and, most importantly, protect our citizens. President Bush has set for this nation new priorities in protecting national security, protecting our homeland, and fighting and winning the global war on terrorism. Today you see a direct contribution to that effort in the groundbreaking of this significant border station project. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our customer partners who have worked closely with us on this project, including Chris Perry from Customs and Border Protection, Helene Adams and Todd Manning from the Food and Drug Administration, Jeff Parsons and Robert Andra from Fish and Wildlife. Finally, I'd like to recognize some of our internal folks at GSA. Tom King, the project manager, who daily gets calls from me saying, where are we on the Champlain Border Project? Tom, thank you for your efforts on behalf of the people of the United States and on behalf of the people in GSA. And Gail Schuster's here, our contract manager. Thank you, Gail. I'd also like to recognize our architects, who I think if you've seen the project and the design of the project, you'll understand why when people come to New York and go through the border, they are going to recognize that they're in a wonderful place called America. Henry Smith Miller and Lindsay Smith of Smith Miller and Hawkins, thank you very much, Lindsay, for being here. Harold Kring from Betty and Kring of Watertown, our general contractor on the project. Ron Anderson of Parsons Brinkerhoff, and for construction, Mark Boland and Clark Pyle of Pike Hill, a joint venture. We have some other local partners here, and that's with the state of New York. I want to thank, on behalf of Governor Pataki, Commissioner Thomas Madison for being here today, and all of our local elected officials, Town Supervisor, Mayor Stewart, Assemblyman Altloff, Assemblyman Saywood. Thank you very much for being here. At this time, I'd like to bring up Bill Heffelfinger, Deputy Assistant Commissioner, Office of Field Operations for the U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
Senator Schumer's just arrived. Senator Schumer, Representative McHugh, Representative Sweeney, distinguished guests and dignitaries from both Canada and the United States. Today I'm very honored to attend this ceremony representing Commissioner Bonner of Customs and Border Protection. More importantly, I'm representing 42,000 men and women of Customs and Border Protection who protect this border 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's our great honor to do that. Customs and Border Protection, as most of you know, was created in March of 2003, merging the old Immigration Service, U.S. Customs Service, the agriculture inspectors from agriculture, and U.S. Border Patrol. Today, as you just heard from Chris Perry, which I found interesting, I traveled up with Pat Jones, a public affairs officer out at headquarters, and he said, "Do you think everyone knows that Customs and Border Protection's primary mission is stopping terrorists and terrorist weapons from entering the country?" And I said, "Yes, Pat, all of us know how to recite that." And the first thing Chris Perry said was exactly that, our priority mission. And I won't run through the other traditional missions we have because Mr. Perry did a very fine job at that, detailing all of the traditional missions that we have to accomplish at the same time stopping terrorists. Today we are here to celebrate the modernization and expansion of Champlain Port of Entry. This is a very big day for us. We've partnered with GSA and others on this critical project, including many of you from the local community and the surrounding areas, your congressional representatives, and again the New York State's and representatives from the New York State. When I talk about partnering, I don't ever miss the opportunity to recall September 11th, and the first phone call I received in Washington was from my counterpart in Canada, with CBSA, and he called to offer me any support that we needed to secure the border and to overcome the trials that we were facing. So I appreciate our partnership with Canada. I didn't want to talk long, but while I'm here, I wanted to recognize the men and the women dressed in Field Ops blue and Border Patrol green to let you know you're the heart of our organization. You're the most important element of our targeting systems, our technology, Nexus, FAST. All of those things wouldn't work without your dedication to our mission each and every day. And I'll close with that, to tell you how honored I am to serve with you. It's just a great day for me. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Bill. It is now my honor and pleasure to introduce the United States Senator from New York, Charles Schumer.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and it is great to be here. This is a great day, not only for Northern New York, the North Country, but for all of New York State. And this is a dream come true. It's going to serve us well for decades, and I just want to thank everybody who was part of this. First, of course, all of the great people who work here for the federal and state governments, and I want to thank Mr. Helfenfinger of Customs and Christopher Perry, the Port Director of Port of Champlain, and Eileen Long-Chalales, who was probably born in Brooklyn. So was I. For the great job they do. I want to thank my partners in government who have worked so long and hard on this. I want to thank Governor Pataki, the state. He was going to be here today. The state has done a great job in stepping up to the plate. And my two partners on the House side, one of whom represents this area and the other whom represents an area just south of here that's going to tremendously benefit, John McHugh and John Sweeney. Thank you both for your great work. My partner in the Senate, Senator Clinton, and Senator Moynihan before she was senator. We all worked long and hard on this project. And then the people of the North Country. Special mention, he's seated there modestly in the back, but I think within about a week of my being elected to the Senate. In December of 1998, I got a call from a man, I didn't know who he was, but he kept saying to me, not only talking about the North Country, but about Champlain border crossing, and that was Gary Douglas, who's been indefatigable in making this all happen. I had dreams about Gary Douglas. Anyway, and then all of our other great elected officials from Clinton County, from the city of Plattsburgh, and Roger, our Canadian brethren, who have been partners in this equally with us as well. And this is a great thing that way. Now let me just say a couple of things about this wonderful groundbreaking. First, and Gary will recall this, my first visit to the North Country was on St. Patrick's Day of 1999. And we stood right here on this spot. Now it must be, what, about 80 degrees? It was then about, I don't know, mayor, you weren't mayor yet. But it was about 10 below, but the wind was coming off the lake at about 30 miles an hour. It was the coldest place I ever experienced in my life. And not being shy about the media, I tried actually to give interviews to my friends there, and I couldn't even get the words out. It was so freezing. And that's a big statement coming from me. But in any case, they laugh, they know. But in any case, so here we are, and it's sort of like night and day, not just the difference in the temperature, but what we've achieved. And of course, everything was complicated. You know, achieving this goal was an important goal right from the start. Because when the trucks are backed up for miles, and the tourists can't get through, and the trucks can't get through, it hurts everybody. It hurts people in Plattsburgh, and it hurts people in Glens Falls, and it hurts people in Albany, and it hurts people in New York City, and it hurts the great relationship we have with our Canadian friends. And it was bad before 9/11, and of course after 9/11 it got worse. Obviously things had changed. And the lines, which were long enough to begin with, got even worse. But you know, let this groundbreaking be a metaphor for all of our changes after 9/11, because we can have it with effort and focus and direction. We can do it all. We're going to have better security and speedier commerce. The goals of security and commerce are not antithetical, and we need both. I-87 and our link with Canada is so vital to the economy of the North Country and of the whole eastern part of New York State, all the way down to New York City, all the way down to the container port in Brooklyn, where Eileen and I come from, where containers come right up and go to Montreal. So commerce is important, and after 9/11 we learned that security was important as well. And this new facility will give us the opportunity to have both. We can win the war on terror and still keep up all the other goals that we have as a great country and had before 9/11 and still maintain. So this is great news. Now, we've worked long and hard on this. $40 million was appropriated last year, and the good news is, I know the House has already appropriated it, and the Senate Transportation Committee in our upcoming bill just did another $52.5 million for the Port of Excellence. The total amount that we've been able to put into this in the last few years is over $100 million. And again, it shows by working together private sector, public sector, Democrats, Republicans, North Country, New York City, America, Canada. All of these partnerships made this happen, made it happen in the right way, and made it happen quickly. We've been able to do other things as well. We've tripled the number of border personnel, because to have this beautiful facility without the staff isn't going to do much good. And I want to thank the people who work at the border, for customs and all of the other agencies for the great work that you all do. We've been able also to get the Nexus program here. Again, an opportunity to have both speedy commerce and shore security. And that's going to serve us well. And this whole new facility, this whole Port of Excellence, is basically a dream come true. I remember talking to the Premier of Quebec about the importance of this issue. And Canada is now adding another $25 million from Transport Canada and the Quebec government for this facility. And we need it. We're the fourth biggest commercial port between the US and Canada. The number of truck traffic has more than doubled. 2 million cars, 600,000 trucks, and $13 billion worth of goods, doubling since 1994. And what does it all mean to the North Country? A four-letter word: jobs. Jobs here at the port, and jobs transporting the goods, and jobs with businesses that want to locate here because our commerce and transportation is so good. And further down in Glens Falls to Albany, it means that Tech Valley is given a shot in the arm. There's been great growth there. And as I said, this Port of Excellence gives the Port of New York City added prominence. And that too is much needed. So in all, this is a great day. It's a great day for Plattsburgh. It's a great day for Clinton County. It's a great day for the I-87 corridor. It's a great day for New York. It's a great day for the United States. And it's a great day for the whole world, since we represent two countries. May we have many more great days in the North Country here to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Schumer. Next, it gives me a great pleasure to introduce Congressman McHugh. When I took this job, April of 2004, I received an email from Congressman McHugh's office stating this is one of his top priorities. Then I received an email from Gary Douglas saying this was Gary's top priority. And then a whole host of other emails followed. Someone did tell me that this would probably be the biggest headache that I have to deal with during my tenure as the regional administrator. As someone who has visited the North Country very frequently in my previous positions for the state of New York, I knew this would not be a headache but a pleasure. As someone who has three brothers who are New York City firemen and watched their friends die on September 11th, I knew that this would not be a headache. This is a project that is so important to the future of our countries and to this state, and I take this to be my number one priority as the regional administrator. We had a problem sometime last winter. Congressman McHugh called and said, "Eileen, I'm very worried. There are problems. GSA has screwed this up again. We need to talk." I said, "Congressman, I'll be down to Washington whenever you say." We met ever since. We've been on track. There were some miscommunications, some problems, some bumps along the way, as with anything. But let me tell you, you have no stronger supporter in this district on this project than Congressman McHugh. I was summoned to Washington. I went because I knew it's important to him. He sent me up here in December 22nd. I had a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce. 3 days before Christmas. I had not done my shopping, but I went because I knew how important it is to the Congressman and to the future of this country. So without any further ado, Congressman John McHugh.
Thank you very much. I've been to a lot of groundbreakings. This is more like a ground smashing, though. We're really exceeding normal standards of this kind of celebration. Rarely have I come to an event where I've been shocked and informed. And I was shocked and informed twice during our good senator's comments. First of all, I don't care how cold it is, I'm shocked to hear it was too cold for Chuck Schumer to get words out. I'd like to see that. Not that I'm wishing that again, Chuck, but it just somehow seems impossible. The other is that I'm shocked that it took Gary a whole week to get a hold of you. And that's equally as hard for me to believe. But it is truly, it's not just an honor for me to be here, it's a thrill. And at the risk of stating the obvious, obviously, a project of this magnitude takes so much coordination, so much work together. Once you're in the ground, the actual engineering and the construction itself poses so many challenges. But I seriously doubt any of the challenges that this project has faced or will face in the future in any way equals the challenge of scheduling this event, of coordinating this moment, of bringing together the considerable, I'm going to say it, egos. There are some egos here. One of them is right here at this microphone. And the schedules of all the folks who so much wanted and deserved to be here. And that has been done, in my judgment, because of the perseverance, the professionalism of one person, and that's Eileen. And she has done an amazing job. And Eileen, I want to personally thank you, along with all of your staff, the folks at GSA who have weathered through the torrents and slings and arrows, many of which came from my quiver, and have persevered in bringing this moment to reality, more important, this project. You've done an amazing job. God bless you. Thank you so much. I think it's fair to say that in the aftermath of September 11th, we all, as a people, as individuals, as communities, and certainly as a North Country community, had so many questions. How did we go forward? And critical amongst those questions, how did we face the new reality of somehow ensuring that the flow of commerce, of travel, of tourism that has been so vital to the economic stability, to the quality of life of not just this side of the border, but to our friends, the Canadian side of the border, continue, but done in a way, as Senator Schumer so correctly said, that makes our security, our guard against terrorism even more effective. The most immediate answer to that was the folks you see in the back of the tent here in uniform today. The other folks whom you don't see, who are the personnel that before September 11th and after have done such an incredible job guarding our borders and guarding us, ensuring that the flow of commerce and travel and tourism continue, but that evil people with evil deeds were caught. They continue that effort, but today we provide another important part of the answer to that critical question in this project. Because when this project is completed, as has been said, it will be the most modern, the most efficient, the most effective border crossing station, certainly anywhere in the United States, probably anywhere in the world. And will give those brave men and women who do such an incredible job day in and day out another invaluable resource and tool to do the work that we expect, that in this era of the war on terror we need, desperately need. And for that reason alone, this is such a joyous occasion. You know, as I mentioned, you don't have this kind of work without great partners. And I can tell you that there are so many of the names you've already heard here this morning. But I want to cite a few at the risk of insulting the many. But my brother and partner in so many things, New York and North Country and in life, like the Yankees and other things that we share, John Sweeney. John as a former member of the House Select Committee on National Security and now as an invaluable member of particularly the New York representative of the Appropriations Committee, has been so supportive of virtually everything that I personally have tried to do, virtually everything all of the members of the House from the Northeast region and of course New York have tried to do. And his effort to ensure that the early funding that provided a bridge inserted by the legislature, by the Congress, the House, to carry forward to the President's and the administration's appropriations that have followed in the past 2 years was absolutely essential. There'd be no project without John, without the great work that he has done. And John, my brother, thank you so much. God bless you for making the trip here, and although it's not so far from your district, and thank you most of all for your friendship. Of course, unfortunately, in the views of many members of the House, when they wrote the Constitution, they provided for this thing called the Senate. And we've got to deal with it. Unfortunately, we do have two partners in Senator Schumer and Senator Clinton, who, as their repeated presence here shows, are not just endemic to downstate New York City or his beloved home area of Brooklyn, but he cares about the North Country as he cares about this project. His presence here today underscores that. And Chuck, thanks so much for being here, and thanks for all the work that you did. And the administration. I mentioned Eileen and GSA and John McCarthy, her able chief of staff. Bill Heffelfinger, of course, is here from Customs and Border Protection. Chris, who at the Christopher Perry here at the port, to provide a lot of the understanding of the day-to-day operations and how to design truly a port of excellence that works, that will operate. And Tom Madison, representing the highest echelons of the Department of Transportation for the state, and the good work and support that the governor has given, along with his partners and my partners, some of whom are here today, Assemblywoman Teresa Sayward, Assemblyman Chris Ortloff. I saw the mayor here. I saw so many other folks who all care about this region. I was not a particularly young man, but a new man to the United States Congress when in 1993 I learned about a little thing called base closure. And I learned about other surprises and shocks in government, and about how the closure of Plattsburgh Air Force Base, although never desired by the Air Force, came about. It would have been easy for this North Country community to sit back and to wallow in self-pity. That didn't happen. God bless you, it didn't happen. You went forward and you looked at the assets you had, you looked at the resources you had, and the local business community and the support of the local elected leadership came forward and struggled in places like Champlain and throughout the entire region, and under the auspices of the hard-handed whip of Gary Douglas, who very rightfully received a warm round of applause earlier, brought this kind of project and others to fruition and made this location today what it is. And that is one of the prime spots for new business, small business development location anywhere in America. So this is a great day. It bodes well for the moment, but even better for the future. And as great days go, it doesn't get much better than this. So thank you for allowing me to be here, to be a very small, but I'd like to think active part of this project. God bless you all. God bless America.
Thank you very much, Congressman. You never really get to introduce people that you think that highly of, and you really mean it. And I mean this about the next individual. I worked with him in the state of New York during some political campaigns. Although he doesn't represent this district, I think the congressional members in New York State, while they only represent a piece of New York State, they go well beyond representing just their district. And the partnership that John McHugh spoke so highly of with John Sweeney would not exist if they were not willing to go beyond their boundaries. So he's my friend, he's a great congressman. I'm glad that the two of them are partnering together on this project. Congressman John Sweeney.
Thank you. I can't tell you how proud I am to be here at what is a very important milestone, I think, for all of us. Senator Schumer said that this is an important event, not just for the North Country, although indeed it is, not just for our friends to the north, the Canadians, which indeed it is, not just for the 23rd Congressional District that my brother, my dear friend John McHugh represents. We partner on a lot of things. This just happens to be one of the ones that work, John, and I'm happy we're here for it. But really for all of New York, all of upstate New York in particular, this is a key and crucial moment, one that many times I think John and I both had our doubts whether we were going to get here. Director Perry, Commissioner Madison, Bill, good to see you again. Eileen Long, I'm going to call her by her maiden name because I've known her since I feel like I've grown up with her. Eileen Long, really, we are very fortunate that she serves as the administrator for GSA for this region because it's a very essential spot that serves this state, this region, incredibly well. Senator Schumer, my partner in the Senate side, and one of my partners in the Senate side, who Chuck, as John McHugh pointed out, is quite energetic and always working, and it's good to be joining with him. And then John McHugh. I need to tell you a little bit about how this kind of happened. He alluded to it briefly, but he really didn't tell you the full story. I was first elected to Congress in 1998. My predecessor, Jerry Solomon, suggested to me the day after the election that I needed to call John McHugh, our neighbor to the north, because John McHugh was the representative on the steering committee, the committee that chose committee slots for members of Congress. He would be representing me as I sought to obtain membership on certain committees. So I called John up and we had a rather lengthy conversation about what the committee structures were and what might be the most advantageous place for me to go to as a representative. And in the course of that conversation, the first mention of this border crossing came. And from that day forward, almost every day that we spoke to one another, John McHugh would mention this border crossing. In the year 2000, I was fortunate enough, with the help of John McHugh, to attain membership on the House Appropriations Committee. And in 2000, we had made an earmark request jointly for about $10 million and received zero for this project. In 2001, when I assumed my seat on the House Appropriations Committee, and more importantly, was put on the subcommittee on transportation and infrastructure, we made our request for $10 million and received our first $4 million for the plan, the study, and design for this project. Since that time, every year, John McHugh and I make the request for funding for this project, and we were really fortunate, as he pointed out, that the administration, recognizing the challenges of September the 11th, recognizing the economic challenges of an entire region, of two nations, the administration became supportive, and we were able to secure $2 million in 01, $500,000 in 02, $4 million in 03, $31 million in 04, and for the 06 budget, $52 million in the House bill, Senator. And we know you're going to fight. You're going to fight to make this happen. We really are a partnership. We are a team. John McHugh and I happen to be very close members of the team because we need to be for the people we represent, but also because he is such a great leader. And you as his constituents need to know how hard he has worked on this, and I appreciate that great work. One of the other things that we've got working, and it just was passed, is also significant because the 20th Congressional District and the 23rd Congressional District are tied. Our economic health, our safety, our security are tied to the safety and security of our friends in the north, the Canadian government, and as well as all of you here. We all recognize that. Gary Douglas was always reminding me of that. But one of the important things that we got accomplished in the last transportation and infrastructure authorization bill that was done is the I-87 corridor from Montreal to New York is now designated as one of the 4 top priority corridors of the nation.
What that means is that projects like this and many more to come are going to be projects of priority for the national government. And I know Eileen is looking forward to our next set of requests as we continue to open up this region, as we continue to go forward. I am very thankful to be here. I'm very proud to have been a part of this. And I thank you all for all the hard work that you've put into this. And God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Sweeney. The next speaker is also a friend, and without making a fool out of myself, a girl from Brooklyn, growing up in Brooklyn and thinking Westchester County is upstate. And once I traveled the state, obviously this is as far north as I'm going to get. I have friends in Clinton County, and I have friends in practically every county of the state, and it's because of government and working together, local, state, federal officials. So the next person I'd like to introduce is Commissioner Thomas Madison from the Department of Transportation, who is representing Governor George Pataki.
Thank you very much, Eileen. And I'd just like to say a personal word for a moment here, if I could, about, I call her out by her maiden name as Eileen Long. We've been professional colleagues and very good friends for a lot of years. And I feel so privileged to be sharing the dais with you here today, Eileen. I just wanted to say congratulations. We're all very proud of you for the great work that you're doing at GSA and for the United States and projects like this. We're very, very proud of you, and thank you. When you're the last one to speak at an event like this, especially with this distinguished group that sits behind me, pretty much everything has already been said that needs to be said. You just haven't heard it from me yet. So let me start by extending regards from my boss, Governor George Pataki, who couldn't be here with us today, but he asked me to convey his sincere appreciation to everyone for your efforts and your partnership, which is what we heard a lot about already this morning, that made this border crossing project come to fruition, and it's going to make this border crossing and others across our state and nation safer and more secure and more convenient for traffic, commercial and standard traffic. Thanks in particular to all the partners that have been involved in this project. The specific partners include the agency which I head up in New York State, which is our Department of Transportation, the General Services Administration, the National Government of Canada, and of course the Provincial Government of Quebec, and its Ministry of Transport, and our Bureau of Customs and Border Protection. I also want to mention again, because they're so worthy of mention and really started, we're the catalyst to this project, and that's our federal representatives here behind me, Congressman McHugh and Sweeney and Senator Schumer, for your great efforts. As has been mentioned, this border crossing, Champlain is one of the most important in the United States. We average about 2,000 trucks crossing the border every day into the United States here. An estimated $15 billion worth of trade and traffic crosses here every year. Now back in 2002, Congressman Sweeney mentioned kind of the progression of financial events that occurred. But I think another step in that process of partnership occurred back in 2002 when Governor Pataki met with then Premier Landry, and they had a summit. And the governor asked, what can we do in New York to help facilitate a more safe and secure border, particularly here at the Champlain crossing. And at that summit meeting, the governor committed $35 million in new transportation investments to improve trade and commerce and tourism between New York State and Quebec. So part of that commitment is the $6 million that we have invested for the project that we'll be breaking ground on here today. The money that we've been involved with from the state level would specifically help with a truck staging area that was already described earlier today, to help separate the truck traffic from the regular commuter and tourism traffic that comes across the border, to help expedite things and help improve security at our checkpoints. So some of the other improvements that are transportation related include some lane widenings and some signage issues, really trying to marry technology with some of the security issues that are being addressed here at the border crossing. And I don't want to get into too much detail, only to say that a lot of the fixes and the investments that we've seen so far have been temporary, and that the real permanent solution begins today. I mentioned that conversation between the governor and Premier Landry, and it really set in motion a progression of other events at the state level and with our relationship with the province of Quebec. My predecessor at the DOT, Joe Boardman, really took a strong interest in the I-87 corridor. He worked closely with Congressman Sweeney. There's actually a study ongoing that hasn't been released yet, but we're all anxious to see the results of that study and how that will impact on the corridor. But those relationships and those kinds of interactions that happen at the state and federal level with our friends in Canada were invaluable in moving this process along. I'm new to my job. In fact, I've only been here for about 6 weeks as the DOT Commissioner. But I had an opportunity 3 weeks ago to be up over in New Hampshire at a conference of the Northeast Association of State Transportation Officials. And at that conference, I got to spend a fair amount of time with some friends, some new friends that I made from the province of Quebec and from the Canadian Transportation Ministry. And I can tell you that their commitment is strong at this border crossing, but all across New York State at all of our crossings. So in addition to all the partnerships that we're talking about today, I want to really reiterate how important that international partnership is with our friends from Canada. I know that some of the things that are going to happen at this border crossing will set a precedent for improvements at other border crossings, not only here in New York, but across our entire border with Canada and the United States. So again, on behalf of Governor Pataki, thank you all very, very much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Thank you.
That concludes our speaking program. Right now, what I'd like to do is have all the dignitaries meet me back here, and we'll break ground. And for those of you who'd like to watch, feel free to come back, but there's also refreshments for everybody to enjoy as well. Thank you very much for coming.
There you go.
This is the construction that's been going on behind us as we've been listening to the program today. This is to the east, excuse me, to the west. I'm confused here. The senator said that the lake was this way, but this is the west. And the lake, despite what he said, is over to the east. This is the groundbreaking. It's taking place just before noon. And it looks like they got some real soft dirt for them to dig into. And I'm gonna wait for Gary Douglas. You see Assemblyman Ortloff and Assemblyman Little joining the contingency. I guess if you're a senator, you don't need to wear a hard hat. Senator Schumer, minus the hard hat here, which of course is just symbolic. Makes everybody feel that they worked hard today, I guess. Waiting for Gary Douglas, the director of and president of the Plattsburgh North Country Chamber of Commerce. And he has been the driving force behind this. They're paging Gary Douglas. You see the town supervisor Wallet has joined the party. And a reluctant Gary Douglas is making his way up. Nice new shiny shovels here. Oh, a double shovel. A double shovel. And this is being recorded for posterity by a whole bunch of folks. Now, one blue collar worker here, they pointed out, Mayor Stewart is the only blue collar worker in the group. Although Christopher Perry's shirt looks like it has a tinge of blue in it. So that's it, the groundbreaking ceremony, new border station, and let me tell you, the traffic is backed up today as far as you can see. I don't know if they're being extra cautious because of what's going on here, or if they're trying to impress the folks about the, the importance here. But the traffic has been backed up. Anybody heading south today has had a long wait to get through the border. Shirley O'Connell and Sam Tremblay talking to the senator. Jack LeDuc's going to get in. John Gallagher saying howdy. I never pass up an opportunity to talk to a fellow St. Mary's Academy graduate. This man here is claim to fame as he graduated with Silver Marnes. Is that right?
Right. Back in 1961, the Silver Marne, Dean Tremblay, Pat Sibilaire, a whole bunch of us, and more than happy that everybody's still alive and in good health.
And you don't have to travel too far when you want to come across the states to visit your old classmates. And we see your name quite often. Actually, it's your father's name, I believe, on the trucks. Is it J.E. Fortin? Is that's your father?
Right. J.E. for Eugene. Actually, my grandfather started the business back in 1923. And I've been keeping it on. And my two daughters are on with me for the Radev, Annie and Karadin. And if we look right next to us, all the field where we see all the loaders and all that, and that's I'm the neighbor, so I'm very close to Champlain, and be happy to be here.
Mr. Jean-Claude Fortin, and you right out of school, did you get into the family business?
Yeah, right out of the school back in '61. I started work as a truck driver for almost 10 years, and now I'm the president of the company. And I think this opening at that port here will be great for all of us.
Now, how many trucks do you have on the road, Jean-Claude?
We were running 85 trucks, mostly all refrigerated trucks. Main hauling is from anywhere from Boston to Wilmington, Delaware, from Montreal. So we run maybe 25 to 30 trucks a night through this custom here on the High 87.
So this is vital for your business, and this is going to help you a lot.
Oh yeah, it's the most tremendous thing, because it was started to be some lineups before September 11, and after September 11 it just got worse and worse. But lately it's been improved a lot with the new modification on paper, but with this great new port, I guess it will be the best thing that will ever happen to all of us.
And how soon have you been told that you're going to be seeing a change in what's happening here, as far as this is going to be a parking lot here that we're looking at where all the ukes are going right now in the building in that area?
Yeah, I heard you got 26 or 27 acres of land here. I know some of the contractor, I think the parking to put up the building will be ready late this fall. I think within a year and a half everything should be done or closed, so I guess I will make everybody's happy.
I did hear the figure of 2006. I can't remember the exact month, but they did say it was going to be completed in 2006. And you'll probably be jumping up and down with glee, right?
That's right, because we've been hearing so much about this new construction. We didn't believe it for a while, but now I know it's true, so it'll be the greatest thing.
Now, because you're neighbors with this parking lot, they're going to allow you to have a gate there so you can just drive right across and not have to get in line with all the other trucks?
I don't think so. We got to follow the pattern. But I guess the fence will be right along my land, so it'll be nice to watch from there.
Okay. Jean-Claude Fortin, we appreciate you talking to us, and we'll say hello to Silvo next time we see her.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Okay, we've got one of the co-men in charge here. There's Dick McCabe on one side and Chris Perry on the other side. You succeeded Tim Michonelli?
Yes, I did. Tim was a chief inspector here previously, and I'm the area port director here for Customs and Border Protection.
And McCabe is for the immigration side?
Well, actually, since the creation of the Department of Homeland Security, both immigration, customs, and agriculture operations have merged. So now we're under a unified chain of command. So I am I'm the senior manager, at the Champlain Port of Entry.
Okay. So how long have you been up here, Chris?
I've been here almost 5 years, since December 2000.
And that was before September 11th, so things must have changed drastically. Was it almost immediately?
It was almost immediately that day. As soon as 9/11 occurred, our world as we knew it had drastically changed. Whether it's deployment of new technology, increased staffing, and a heightened focus on protecting the United States from the threats of terrorism. And now certainly a new facility here at Champlain.
Where'd you come from originally? Where'd you start your service?
Well, originally I'm from Buffalo, New York, but I started my service with CBP, Customs and Border Protection, in Baltimore. And after I spent almost 10 years in Baltimore, I worked for Customs headquarters in Washington before coming here.
I've heard that that's one of the things you've got to do if you want to progress. You've got to spend a part of your tour in Washington, right?
Yeah, my headquarters experience was tremendous. It gives me a broad perspective, and especially when coming back out to a field office, it helped me tremendously in how to manage an operation like this.
So when you call Washington, you know what's happening at that end, and you've experienced that part.
I've experienced that end, and I have the experience from this side, so it's a tremendous benefit.
Who do you answer to?
My immediate boss is Michael D'Ambrosio, who's the Director of Field Operations in Buffalo, New York.
Okay, I think at one point was there a head in Watertown, kind of head this area also? Has that kind of been eliminated?
That was many years ago. As a matter of fact, up until recently, I managed all CBP operations from Rouse's Point all the way to Thousand Islands, and then there was an internal reorganization. So the Champlain area is pretty much from Rouse's Point to Fort Covington.
Okay, so you're not just ahead of this port; you're ahead of New York State up to Fort Covington,
That's correct.
Salt Lakes area?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's quite a bit. Do you get out on the road much to cover that?
Yes, I do. I have there's other port directors in those locations. We also cover Albany Seaport and Airport. So there's port directors in those areas, and they report to me. But I do get out on a regular basis to see those operations.
Now, is there somebody on the customs level that's equal to like Dick McCabe?
Yes, we have.
Locally?
Well, yeah, we have chief inspectors, and Dick McCabe is a chief inspector, and
on the immigration side.
On the immigration side, he handles our immigration policy issues. Sharman Burtz is our passenger, what we call our passenger lobby chief, so she's in charge of all passenger operations. And then Eric Hipko is our cargo chief inspector, and Perrin Knapp is our administrative supervisor, handles all of our training issues and scheduling.
Okay.
So we have a broad, with our reorganization, we have a broad cross-section of managers from all the different legacy agencies.
I noticed there's a tremendous traffic jam today. Now that's not deliberate here just to emphasize how busy it is here, is it?
No, and it's funny, I wouldn't consider it a major traffic jam. This is just typical heavy traffic. Typical summer traffic. And what we're finding this year is that, especially so far, even August, even though we're only a few days into August, the traffic has been very heavy.
So that's why a lot of us natives always go to 276 when we cross.
Right. Well, that's one of the things, certainly as someone from the local community, that, there are other locations you can cross.
Any idea on the estimate of the time that people are spending in line? Do you do studies on that?
Yes, we do. I mean, on most of the time, the wait time is actually, a zero or pretty close to zero. Today, I'd say, estimating that a commercial vehicle right now, the wait time is probably only a few minutes.
The trucks seem to be going good today.
Yes, cars, the wait time is probably about 15 minutes at this point. So again, it's not it's a steady day, but it's not one of the heaviest days that we would experience.
Do you have the flexibility to send more people out to open up more lanes if you need to?
Yes, we do. We monitor the traffic flow in the situation, and as needed, we open additional lanes.
Are there yearly, year in and year out, outside of the obvious holidays, days when you know you're going to be swamped?
Yeah, there's certain days, certainly around 4th of July, St. Jean Baptiste Day. You get into Labor Day. in days like that, we know are going to be heavy days. And generally during the summertime, the weekends are very heavy, Friday through Sunday. Commercial vehicles are usually Sunday through Thursday. Year-round are heavy days for us.
Now, you're going to have to be involved closely with the actual construction, or will they be Eileen and those people there be handling that end of it for you?
They handle a significant portion of it. Port and port management has been and will continue to be heavily involved in it. We work with the architects and engineers and others to come up with a design and the floor plan, and the experts, as we call them, those architects and engineers, take a look at the concepts that are proposed to make sure that they're sound, from an engineering and traffic standpoint.
And once we start seeing something being constructed over there, I imagine you'll be a steady visitor to make sure everything's coming as you envision.
Yes, my office is right here at the port, so I'm actually out here probably every couple days at this point to see how things are progressing. And matter of fact, next week you'll probably start to see some of the buildings go up. So they're doing a very good job, and they're
in this area here.
Yeah, actually, out behind me where the sand is, that's the actual footprint to the building. So if you look at it from an aerial perspective, you would actually see, the footprint of the building. And slightly to the north of that, you have the commercial vehicle primary lanes where the truck booths will be in the future, and all the road beds. So it's very soon it'll really start to shape up.
Okay, is that fence we see over there, is that the border? I know Jean-Claude Fortin, or a tree line, is that the border?
Yeah, the tree line to your north is the border, and it stretches from east to west certainly at that point.
Yeah, we talked to Jean-Claude Fortin a moment ago, and he's telling us that he's a neighbor of what's going on here, so he's going to keep a close eye on it, and for a good reason, because it's very important for his business.
Right.
All right. Well, thanks for chatting with us, Chris.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Here's the footprint that Chris Perry mentioned, and you can actually see where the dirt has been moved, and this is the footprint of the building you see in the flat portion. And to the north of that will be where the trucks will come in and be the parking area and the gathering area. And a tree line, that's a tree line we talked about. It's runs right across the border. And that other side of there is where our friend Jean-Claude Fortin's J.E. Fortin in Fields Trucking is located. A large crowd here. I thought it would have been a good idea if they'd asked all the dignitaries to stand up, and we would have seen how many people jumped up, because certainly everyone here was here for a purpose, and a lot of people from the custom brokers, from the Customs and Immigration Department, and from some of the local governments, from county level, town, village, city, state, and on up to the federal level. So that's it, Hometown Cable's coverage of the groundbreaking at the Champlain border crossing on this 8th day of August 2005. Thanks for watching, and for those of you supporting Hometown Cable, and keep an eye out. This is all going to change very shortly here, and in a few months this will all be very, very different.